The federal government has proved at this point that it's not capable of managing data well, so it effectively abuses our privacy rights and neglects our security rights. Two prime examples: we have the NSA that's seizing data of Americans, sending it out to federal and local law enforcement, and those investigations are not ultimately disclosing to defendants and to defense attorneys that this information actually came from the NSA and federal seizure of data. Furthermore, the federal government has neglected the privacy rights and security responsibilities it has with respect to its own employees. The Office of Personnel Management had its data stolen, and federal employees therefore have their data out there. And this data ultimately is responsible for providing funds to terrorist organizations that can then use those funds to attack us. So this is a big issue. Congress has granted the requirement to companies like AT&T and Verizon to make backdoor entries for surveillance purposes, but that doesn't exist as is currently the law with smartphones. And so the FBI is trying at this point to require the companies like Google and Apple to do something that's not necessary, not mandatory under federal law. And we have to remember that they've responded more nimbly to consumer concerns about privacy and security than the federal government has been able to do. So Apple deserves a lot of credit here for its leadership.
Why doesn't this, I understand the smartphone's a complex issue, and I understand the potential ramifications of it, but just in terms of the simple facts of the matter, why doesn't the government have a standing or a case if there's evidence in the phone to be able to access that evidence?
Because current law has not created a mandate on these sorts of companies to create these backdoor accesses for law enforcement. And so the Apple companies of the world would have to create these new capabilities from the get-go. And so what that means is the government is now requiring a private entity to be conscripted into government service. So can you force, for example, a neurologist to figure out a way to convert the thoughts of a terrorist onto paper? This is the same thing here that exists where there's no mandate except that a judge might say that you have to do this, but Congress has not ruled, and so there's no authority for this judge to actually issue this order.